Hey guys, it's Nicole Eaton with the Rock Your Soul book and podcast, where we talk about how to hack your mindset, grow your intuition, and live your best life. You can support this podcast by subscribing, leaving a positive review, and screenshot and sharing on social media. The following is an excerpt from Nicole's recent live video on her Rock Your Soul Facebook group. To join in on the fun, type in facebook.com/groups/rockyoursoulclarity. Do you want to, while people are joining, give us a little bit about you for people who aren't familiar with you and your work?
Sure, absolutely. So I'm a master astrologer. I'm also an Akashic Records practitioner, cosmic business coach. So I know we're focusing today on helping women rise into their power, and I'm so excited to have this conversation as well because I think it's so important, right? In order to manifest the life we desire, in order to feel worthy of receiving the things we desire, being grounded in our personal power is so key. So a little bit with how I do my work, I bring in a guidance from the Akashic Records, so tapping in basically to our divine soul blueprint, our unique journey of the soul, also looking at the cosmic shifts and trends that are happening and bringing those together because they're magical when they combine to really help women on their journey of mastering manifestation and expanding their business and all of that goodness.
It's so fascinating because I think we parallel each other in really unique ways. And I love that you bring the Akashic Records in. I love that you bring a lot of that astrology in because that's definitely not something I'm super well versed in. So I'm so fascinated to see what shows up today in our conversation. What's interesting is like, I always feel like one of the big things during retrograde is that you can either be in your power or feel completely out of your power.
I love it. And I know, even though maybe you don't study the astrology, you're so in tune with these energies. Like, I love seeing the things you share, right? It's like, even if we don't know all the astrological shifts, like intuitively we can feel it. And totally with retrograde. And that's one of the things I'm passionate about sharing too, because I think sometimes we can fall into victim mode. Like, oh, Mercury retrograde, things are going to go wrong, or use it as an excuse or reason not to be launching things or sharing things with the world. And it's really important that, yes, we honor these cosmic shifts, but not from a space of like victim mentality. And we see it as a co-creative process, right? Like these changes are happening in the cosmos, but we get to choose how we respond to it. And Mercury retrograde is just such a beautiful time for reflection. And there's been so many incredible changes happening that I know people are feeling, right? Like a major ascension happening on the planet, so many divine downloads coming in. And I feel like this Mercury retrograde is actually giving us a time to integrate it, to really integrate some of that knowledge. And Mercury, like, it represents our thought process, how we think, how we communicate. So when it retrogrades, it's this invitation to go within and explore those different aspects. How am I communicating? How am I speaking my truth? How am I expressing myself? And where are my thoughts focused? What beliefs am I entertaining? So there's so many beautiful gifts in Mercury retrograde. We also have Saturn retrograding now too. So we're like, there's so much, and we're in eclipse season. So this really is like a beautiful time for releasing. I feel like a lot of people are feeling that, like the releasing, the letting go, but also this new chapter that's beginning as we work toward the solar eclipse as well, like new avenues, new doors opening up. And to really step into that, it does involve an element of letting go of what no longer serves us, what's no longer working, in order to welcome in these new experiences.
I think that Mercury retrograde is such an important time, as much as some people get worked up about it. I decided a couple of years ago that I was not going to determine what retrograde looked like or meant for me, and that I would just flow with it as it showed up and know that if there were minor inconveniences, that's that could happen, but I didn't need to take it personally.
Right.
I always love just being able to flow with retrograde and see what it shows me. But I've noticed, even for me, I sat down last night with a pen and paper and just went through belief systems and just wrote it all out. I have a Capricorn moon, so I like to organize my emotions and my thoughts.
Oh, I love it. Okay.
But I like to, structure that out and just see, okay, have I really been believing what I'm manifesting? Have I deeply, are there any blocks to me receiving and putting my energy in a position receive those things? Are there things that I'm manifesting or writing for that I haven't quite committed to energetically or in an open way? So I love this time period in some regard because it makes me, I'm more of an extrovert, so it does make me more come back to myself and just ask those questions and check in with myself, allow myself to kind of structure in that way.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's a beautiful way to work with these energies. Like in any cosmic shift, we can work with them in a way that's really empowering too. And speaking about our power, right? It's like, are we using this as an empowering time as a way to step into our power, or going into that like victim mode and mentality, and being able to look at our core belief systems is so key, right? And like, are we actually in alignment with what we say we want? Because sometimes we say we want one thing, but our energy is saying something else. And sometimes we may not even fully be on board with it. Like there's a lot of projections that come externally that say you should want this, right? This is what success looks like. And it may actually not be true to our core. So being able to go within and like ask ourselves those questions is so important as well. And yeah, using this energy as a reflective time, so key, so key. Like we'll get amazing downloads and insights working with the energy in that way.
I love what you just said about like needing to come back and check in with yourself of like, is this still in alignment? Does this still resonate with me? Because I think that we can absent-mindedly go towards goals or things that other people are doing and then not be able to have maybe the same level of success, but it's also not entirely in alignment with us. So I think asking those questions of like, does this still work for me is so important. I love that.
Yes. And I always like to reflect on like, is it a true soul desire? Like, is this something I actually want on a deep level, or do I feel I need to manifest this, whether it's like money, relationship, anything in our life? Are we manifesting that from a space of lack? I need this to feel worthy. I need this to feel important. Or am I manifesting this because it feels good? It feels expansive and it's what I truly desire. And that comes back to the conversation around power too. Am I in my power when I'm manifesting? Am I connected deeply to my soul, to my heart? Or is it coming from this space of lack and needy energy? And I'm sure you talk about this with your community too, Nicole, like that needy energy can actually repel what we want instead of allowing it to come in, right?
Absolutely. How would you suggest? So let's say somebody's feeling pretty detached from their soul's desire and detached from that heart space calling. What are some steps they can take to get back in alignment with their power, with their truth?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this like discussion of power, like it's so many elements to it. Like I feel power has so much attached to it, just that wording. And I think for women for so long, it's like we've all seen in society power being misused, or the shadow side of power, right? Power over people, a misuse of power, manipulation with power. So I think even bringing that back to like looking at how you define power, and that power does not need to mean, like I know for both of us when we talk about power, we're meaning really like, well, I'll speak about what I how I see it, and then I'll love to hear your way of seeing it. But when I look at power, it's like being deeply grounded to my truth, to my heart space, and knowing my innate worthiness, right? Like knowing my connection to infinite intelligence, like that type of power. That's about power with other people, uplifting others. So as far as coming back to your soul in that heart space, I think taking that time to go within, whether that's journaling and honestly like reflecting on, okay, what beliefs am I entertaining right now? And does this feel true to me? Like actually taking space to do that, asking those questions. And like every morning I take time to meditate before I go into my day and look at emails or go on social media. It's like I set that intention to meditate first. And sometimes that's a guided meditation. Sometimes it's just breathing deeply. Sometimes it's listening to like high vibe music. You know, on YouTube, you can type in like miracle hertz, like HZ, or the higher frequencies. Yeah. So like listening to that and just, feeling into that energy. So I think that's how we reconnect, is actually taking time to disconnect a little bit from the outer world and actually go within.
I love that you were talking about power in the sense of feeling connected to the universe, because I think that is exactly true. Is I find that when I start to feel disconnected, or I've been really busy and haven't had as much time to do my practices, the first thing that goes is I get so in my head about like, oh, well, that's the right thing to do, or I start to structure it out of alignment, rather than checking in and feeling aligned. And so actually somebody asked me the other day, like, what's my best technique for manifesting? And I said, learn how to trust the universe. Practice the universe. I think when you can trust the universe and you have intentions already set, that you can trust that whatever's showing up is part of it, and it's a stair step to getting there. It's needed to go in the direction you're going. So I think that part of the power comes from finding that space within you that feels like an extension of the stars, extension of the universe, extension of, that God spark, or whatever, you to call it. But I love this work. I'm curious, how do we like use the cosmos in our power? How do we use, like, during retrograde, and there's sometimes that chaos, like how do we navigate through that in a way that allows us to stay in peace with things that may feel disruptive or may feel challenging?
Yeah, I feel there's so many layers to that as well. Like part of it can come from understanding our unique birth chart, right? Which is our energetic blueprint, like understanding the energies there, because we all respond differently. Like when we talk about Mercury retrograde, like that energy is hitting our chart in a different spot, right? For some people, it may be directly in their third house of communication. For some people, it may be in relationships or their career house. So while there's this like larger storyline, there's also the individual as well. So I feel like knowing our birth chart, knowing our blueprint definitely helps us navigate those times, because we know how we respond. Like even how you say you're a Capricorn moon, right? Like the moon represents what we need emotionally, our level of comfort. So even knowing those little pieces of our chart, like our moon, this is what I need to feel that sense of emotional security and safety in our life, can be really helpful. So I think that's a part of it. The other part is coming back and reminding ourselves of our power. And I have this core belief that the universe is supporting us. It's not working against us. So any cosmic shifts or transits that we're experiencing, it's not meant to bring us down or hurt us in any way. It's actually meant to uplift us. So going in with that core belief, I work with these transits in really empowering ways, and I believe that they are here to support me in my desires. So I think going in with that belief is going to change how we experience eclipses and retrogrades. Instead of thinking like there's this force outside of me that's trying to bring me down, it's like, no, it's like this connectedness energy, right? And we're working and we're co-creating together. And yes, there's certain, I call them like their transits in astrology, like what's currently happening in the cosmos. And sure, there's certain transits or cosmic events that can feel more challenging, but even those challenges, like I reframe it in my mind to see it as a portal, like an opportunity that I get to lean into, and any of the challenges and obstacles get to strengthen me. And they get to empower me. They get to move me closer to what I desire to create. So a lot of it really is our perspective of the world. And I think right now, like if we look at what's happening in the cosmos, we have the collective North Node in Gemini, which is all about information and kind of rewiring our perception of things. And it's like that quote by Dr. Wayne Dyer, who had said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Such a powerful quote. Like right now, I think a lot of us are looking at, what is my perspective on the world? What is the lens I'm seeing the world through? And realizing that we can change that. We can shift that. And there's certain ways of seeing the world that really benefit us. And there's other ways that maybe benefited us at one point, but it's actually not in our highest and best good now.
This is so interesting. I love your perspective on things. What I love about Karen, if you're not following Kara on social media, please do, because one of the things that I love about how you do astrology is that you make it accessible and positive. Like you just find the positive even in transits, even in portals, and find the opportunities and help people connect with, I really truly believe we're here to grow, and growth isn't always the most fun thing or difficult thing to experience. And so when we're in those growing pains, it's so important to not get lost in that victim mentality of, you know, this is happening to me and I'm in this space because, you know, God hates me or whatever crazy stuff we come up with in our, you know, brain. But I think that when we can get into a space of shifting into understanding where certain things are impacting us. And I also like to know, like, even with uh before I even knew anything about being a Capricorn moon, I always knew like how I needed to structure my emotions and how I needed to like process through them in my best way. And everyone thought that was so strange that I needed to like literally write it down or sit down or, you know, talk it out to be able to work through that in a way that helps me move forward. So knowing your chart and knowing the way these cosmos and the shifts are impacting you is so, so important for successfully navigating. And that's what Kara does. She's like so gifted at that.
Thank you. Oh, I love that. And it's so true. Like some people emotionally, they may need to talk through things. Like something happens, right? And they're like, I need to talk through it, right? I need to sort it out, or else they're going over it again and again in their mind. And some people, they may need that time to step away and process. Right? They're like, no, I can't talk about this now. I need to regroup. I need to go within. So that can really be dependent on our moon sign, other aspects of our chart too, but it is really helpful in just better understanding what we need in relationships, how we navigate the world, how we see the world. Like it really, really is incredible. And again, I do believe there's a lot of free will involved in that. And I've seen that time and time again, like even having some really challenging transits happening in my chart as a Cancer sun. I think we're both Cancers, so we both over these past few years would have experienced, right, Saturn at some point opposing our sun and Pluto opposing the sun, like depending at some point, right? Every Cancerian, and those could be seen as really challenging transits. So yeah, holding that intention to lean in and say, okay, like what's the higher octave of this? Because that's the thing with all these energies too. There's a lower octave of expression and there's the higher octave. And I always think like, how can we work with this in the highest octave? Because that's a really empowering approach too, right? Like being in our power and owning that. Like, how can what is my role within this, right? And not in a sense of needing to control it all. Like I know you talked about that energy of trust, which is so key too, right? Not coming from a space of I need to control it to feel safe, but simply looking at what's my role within this, and possibly how can I trust this a little further? How can I trust that what's leaving my life is meant to leave and it's creating space for the new to come in? How can I trust that the obstacles are actually making me into a stronger, wiser person and preparing me for my path? Like the story we create around it, we have control over that. And the story we create, that will determine our experience with it. And if these cosmic transits or anything that's going on in our life ends up being a horrible thing that's keeping us down, or actually something that's supporting our growth and evolution.
I love how you phrased that, because I think there's so much power in looking at your stories and understanding what are you telling yourself about this experience. Does it feel good? Are you telling yourself a story that feels empowering? And I think one of the things, I actually just recorded a podcast with a friend in Charlotte, and we talked a lot about that was a big focus today in that podcast of like, what is the story you're telling yourself? What are you making it mean? So I love that. What is the next step? Like, as we shift through this space, what is the next step for people accessing their truth, their power, moving through these transits and coming out on the other side? Like, how can we support this journey in a healthy way?
Yeah, well, and I think even being in communities like this, having conversations like this is so helpful in and of itself, right? Because sometimes we can get into this belief that we're the only one experiencing this, right? Like I'm the only one feeling this anxiety or this suffering. Even if logically we know otherwise, sometimes we can feel really alone with that. So I think having this information, receiving support is so key, and really being gentle and loving with ourselves, right? Like that's one of the big things I've learned from the Akashic Records as well. And are people, I'd love to hear below if anyone is jumping in and joining live or on the replay if they're familiar with the Akashic Records, because I can share a little bit about that if you like as well. Yeah, absolutely. So the Akashic Records is, and so I think I saw Lori's comment saying she's familiar. Awesome. So it's like an energetic realm that we can all access. We all have ability to access and enter the space, and it contains our unique energetic blueprint, which is so powerful, right? And also if we access the book local life, our unique records. It's the journey of our soul as well. And yes, being in that space always offers an element of healing, an element of realigning to our soul path and purpose, and a new way of also seeing power as well. Like that's one of the things I really gained from the Akashic Records, is this deep knowingness of being innately worthy. And we all are innately worthy, right? And I feel that's very tied to power as well. Like we have these kind of human definitions of what it means, right? Definitions in the collective, and the records realign us to like, hey, like an ultimate truth or a new way to see this that's really rooted in the energy of love, right? So it really, yeah, just helped me reframe how I see power, what it means to be grounded in my power, and to, because for a long time, I don't know if you resonate with this too, Nicole, like it didn't feel safe to be in my power. And that's something I'm still kind of moving through. It's like this belief that if I'm too powerful, it kind of goes with if I shine too brightly, other people will be uncomfortable. And I'm a Cancer sun, Taurus moon. I don't want people to be uncomfortable. I want them to be comfortable. So it's like changing that. Oh, but what if the more I'm grounded in my power, it actually inspires them to do the same? The more I'm grounded in my power, the more I'm rooted in this energy of love, and that supports the world too. And it's also really helped like change the way I see wealth as well. And wealth and money and power are kind of very intertwined too, right? And Nicole and I have a free gift we're going to share with you too, that I'm doing a free mini series on wealth energetics. So definitely stay tuned for that. Nicole will have a link on that. But I feel like this conversation around power and money have been really tied together too, right? This belief that and it goes in with like power being misused, money being used as a way to control people. And, you know, through work in the Akashic Records, I've been able to reframe how I see that as well, and actually see wealth as being really rooted in the energy of love. And, you know, the more like money we have, the more like good-hearted people have money, the more they circulate it in ways that uplift the planet, change the vibration of the planet. So anytime I think of power, and I don't know if this is the case for you too, like I feel money and power are kind of intertwined, and like this new paradigm is changing the attachments we have on those things to ones that are more grounded and rooted in love, instead of scarcity and panic and fear and manipulation and like that old paradigm stuff.
Well, and I think that goes along with what we were talking about of like the stories we tell ourselves. There's also stories we tell ourselves about having and receiving money or wealth or notoriety or impact, even of that, being afraid to step into our power for those reasons. So it's resetting stories, whether it's through the Akashic Records or whatever that could be.
Could be other ways too. Yeah.
However that looks like for you to step into your power, to allow yourself to receive, because I am wholeheartedly on that. I think, you know, this past year I've been really blessed with abundance in a lot of ways. I had it in the past, and I also have been blessed enough to be able to share that in ways that I haven't been able in the past. And so I absolutely believe that we're meant to be supported divinely by the universe in whatever ways, including wealth. But I am so excited to share with everybody. Kara has a wealth energetics free training.
Yeah, so it's a free mini series on wealth energetics, and I don't know if you can pop the comment below if you have it, or the link where people can join. I'm so excited for this, because this is something I've been just so passionate about as I've changed my relationship with money, changed my relationship with receiving and power. I've really seen this journey of building a healthy relationship with money is being very much about owning and feeling comfortable with my power. Like the more comfortable I kind of feel owning my worth and power, the more that I see money flowing into my experience too. And the more I welcome it in when I trust myself and I feel safe with it. So basically in this series, it's a wealth energetics for the soul-led entrepreneur. And we're going to be doing clearings around old money beliefs, like the old paradigm of money that a lot of us are holding on to that doesn't serve us, right? And this could be rooted in lack. It could be rooted in money is evil, or people outside of me have money, but can I have it? Like just clearing the struggles around it, and also doing activations around wealth. So really calling in that wealth frequency, embodying that, feeling safe and receiving, changing your attachments and associations with money and wealth. So instead of it being associated with power being misused, evil or wrong in some way, not trusting ourselves with money, feeling really safe in receiving money. And again, I love, like, I always go back to this idea, good-hearted people do good things with money. You circulate it in a way that changes and heals the planet, which is amazing.
I love that. And I just want to reiterate, this is a free mini series, guys. You're not going to want to miss out on this. So I just posted the link for the Wealth Energetics course, mini course, so that you guys can get signed up for that. Even if you're on the replay, it doesn't start until June 14th. So you can jump in until then. So even if you're catching this a couple weeks from now, you're good to go. But one of the other things I just want to highlight before we close up today is you're also in the process of Lightworkers Rise Academy.
Yes.
Also super exciting, and I just want to give you a chance to talk about that for a moment.
Absolutely, yeah. So the Lightworkers Rise Academy is a space for spiritual entrepreneurs. If you have entrepreneurs in your community who are looking to scale and grow their business in a way that feels really aligned and good for them, this brings in work with cosmic intelligence. So we're doing high-level work in the Akashic Records to actually access the blueprint of your business. And from that space, create a strategy and a plan for growth and evolution. So it's really aligned with your unique blueprint. And then, of course, there is strategies to scaling your business. So I bring that in as well. So it's this beautiful like combination of work with cosmic intelligence and aligned strategy to create that expansion. So definitely feel free to check that out, or you can message Nicole if you want more details on that. But I'll have the doors opening to that in a couple of weeks. And in the Wealth Energetics mini series, I'll talk a little bit more about that as well. Yeah.
I love this. And one of the things that I love about Kara is that she really does this beautiful grounded, holistic approach to like sharing her information. It is not, I think sometimes with like spiritual entrepreneurs, it can be a little up here sometimes and detached from reality. And I think you do this beautiful job at including all of it together, including it from a heart space, from this gentle energy, but also with those strategic things that you can be doing while working with cosmic intelligence. So it's all the things, and you're going to get signed up for the Wealth Energetics so you can learn more, learn about Kara's style of teaching. But I would encourage everybody to do it because it's free. First of all, the Wealth Energetics is free. You're not going to want to miss that. And again, Kara has so much to offer you. I'm so excited you were able to jump on today.
Thank you, Nicole. I always love connecting with you. You're amazing. Nicole and I have been connected for a couple of years now, and it's been amazing to see our growth and evolution for this process. And I really appreciate you, the words you shared, just who you are. You inspire me. And yeah, definitely like taking these higher concepts, working with cosmic intelligence and like grounding it in practical ways, like so important to me, because I do feel, well, we're here in these physical bodies on the earth plane, and that is really sacred in and of itself. And we want to take these higher concepts and actually implement them in our life, or otherwise, what's the point, right? So that integration is so important. So thank you for having me today, Nicole. This was fun as always.
Yes, I appreciate it. And again, links are in the comments section.
Thank you so much for listening to the Rock Your Soul book and podcast. Take a moment to book a one-on-one session with me or purchase my trainings at NicoleEaton.com. Join the Rock Your Soul Facebook group or follow me on Instagram at NicoleEaton.xo. And if you loved this podcast, don't forget to share it. Thank you.